Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video here on Cluiche. It's another weekend review. Liam, we just addressed the elephant in the room right away. Dublin have lost in the Leinster Football Championship for the first time since 2010. I was 9 years old the last time Dublin lost in the Leinster Championship. I'm 23 now. What age were you the last time Dublin lost?
I was 7 and I was on holidays in Spain watching Meath and Louth's final while I was watching Spain win a World Cup.
My God. Simpler times. Simpler times.
Yeah.
Guys, it's a monumental episode because we've had some historic results, not just in the football, but we had an Armagh Tyrone Classic. We had, of course, the LGFA Munster Championship kicking off. We had Clare losing to Waterford in the Munster Hurling Championship, the All-Ireland Champions beaten there. Huge controversy as well with Darren McCarthy's red card in Cork's. Then comfortable victory over Tip in the Munster Championship. So much to jump into. The ticker down the bottom there will tell you how it works if you are new around here. Get involved in the live discussion. Get involved in the live chat. We have Gavin O'Reilly and Brian O'Riordan who have shown how it works. Brian, straight away jumping in about the Dublin Meath game. He says, I really don't know what to say. Genuinely, completely shocked. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we'd see this. And Brian as well. Brian, you've thrown in a fair few comments about the Dublin Meath game, which I really appreciate. As we're going through it, I will jump through them. Gavin also says, sorry about the defeat, Séamus, but I'm actually so happy the previous 4 group stages, 18, 19, 23 and 24, Roscommon played Dublin, but not this year. They're both third seeds. Yeah, I mean, 2 third seeds that you would want to avoid. Let's dive straight in. Meath, 23 points. Dublin, 116. This is a monumental result for Gaelic football in the Leinster Championship. It really, really is. This is a monumental moment in the Leinster Championship. Finally, Dublin's dynasty and dominance over the province has been broken. As we were saying there, it's 2010 was the last time that Dublin lost. I mean, I was 9 years old, as you were saying, the last time that Dublin lost in the Leinster Championship. I'm now 23. So I've had a full lifetime where I can't remember what life was like when Dublin didn't win the Leinster Championship. And it's such a monumental occasion that Meath managed to get over the line.
Yeah, it's I genuinely, I don't know, for some reason, I remember you saying a while back that it will end eventually, nothing lasts forever, but I can't think of the club. There's a club in Waterford I know that have won, they won 43, 44.
Ballymacarbry, yeah.
Yes, and they lost it there. Was it last year or the year before? And I was genuinely thinking we were on a road for that. Or at least minimum, I thought we were going for what me and you's ages in Dublin in a row, to be honest with you. But yeah, I suppose in a fitting way, if there was one team that was going to end it, I suppose poetically it is Meath. You know, just with the rivalry and the history behind it. I suppose that the hatred that I suppose used to be there, maybe not as much nowadays. But yeah, it's mental. Like, it got to the point where I had forgotten whether it was 13, 14 or 15 in a row. I'd completely forgotten. There was so many of them, you know. And yeah, like I was there watching this game. I was watching the Cork and Tipperary game as well. I was kind of half watching the two of them. I say in the second, there was one point my father said to me, "Oh, that's a great score from Cork," say, or whatever. And I just went, "I'm not watching that. Fuck, screw that game."
It's all good, man. Don't worry, I've cursed plenty of times.
Sorry. But yeah, I was saying, screw that game. This Meath Dublin game is much better. Just because this could be history in the making. But yeah, no, Dublin, look, Meath were deserving winners. There's no question about it. They were 17-5 up at halftime. Owen Frayne was just absolutely sensational. Some of the scores that he kicked, some of the 2-pointers. Costello was fantastic. Conlon was unbelievable at full forward as well. I mean, you'd have to, like, Dublin's full back line was just all over the shop, you know, like so much so that they took Tyrrell off after I think it was half an hour. Like, and you could easily have taken off Theo Clancy, you could have taken off Davy Byrne, you could have taken off any one of them, to be honest with you. It was a real tough showing from them in the first half. Second half, look, you felt that they were going to build up a small bit of a comeback in the second half, given, look, it is Dublin at the end of the day, and Meath were not going to sustain that much ability and that much momentum for long, or for at least for the next 35 minutes. But wow, like it's an amazing result in Leinster football. And I suppose, look, I know you're a Dub and it is tough for you, but in a way, just for Leinster football, and I think for football in general, like, we'd questioned about whether we should be taking the provincial championships out or not. Should we be moving on from them? I think today now has proved that we need to keep the provincial championships, because at the end of the day, for Meath and Louth now, the next day, like that that could genuinely sell out Croke Park because it's a new final, and we all know what happened in 2010. I actually don't mind who wins the final, but can we please not have a 2010 situation again? Otherwise, refereeing might be chased off the pitch again. But yeah, no, it's going to be a monumental day. It is a wonderful day for Leinster football. It is tough on Dublin, but I think even the most ardent of Dublin supporters will sit there and say, listen, it had to come to an end eventually. And yeah, Meath were deserved winners overall.
Do you know what you put in my head? You put in my head? You put the Joe Sheridan coming into like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He just punches the wall in. Now they're about to win. All of a sudden, here comes Joe Sheridan. But I mean, that would just be box office. I mean, hopefully, it wouldn't be the same result. But yeah, I mean, just yeah. Words fail me on this, how significant a victory this is. I mean, this is a monumental victory for Meath. Like, off the ball, I had a graphic up, 5,418 days since Dublin last lost to Meath and lost to anyone in the Leinster Championship back in 2010, 15 years ago. Like, if you're watching this reel right now on Instagram, guess what? Instagram didn't exist the last time that Dublin lost in the Leinster Championship. So this is so significant. And as Meath man says here, it's crazy how, because of Dublin's dominance, there's a whole generation out there that are completely unaware of the Dublin-Meath rivalry. But not only that, it opens up the rivalry again for Meath. But on top of that, it opens up the Leinster Championship now in future, not just for Louth and Meath going into this Leinster final, but next year, Westmeath, Kildare, they'll be thinking they're not invincible. Offaly are, making huge strides. Louth are making huge strides. They're thinking we can have a crack at them as well, maybe next year if we get them. So, and on top of that, it brings back what the Leinster Championship meant in the past to Dublin to win. A challenge, something to conquer. So the Leinster Championship next season will be unbelievable. And this is what I'm saying. It's a monumental win for Meath. First win in Leinster over Dublin in 5,418 days. 15 years. As I said, if you're watching this on an Instagram reel, Instagram didn't exist the last time Dublin lost in the Leinster Championship. Now, all of a sudden, all of the other counties in Leinster are going to sit up and take notice of this because Dublin's invincibility in the province has been shattered. But on top of that, Dublin now have a point to prove in Leinster. So next year, the Leinster Championship is going to get better attendances, more interest. It's a huge win for Meath. Huge win. And it's a huge win for Leinster football as well. I'm a Dublin fan. I've followed them my entire life. But I am able to take a look at this objectively and go, it is good for the province overall that our dominance has been broken. However, I do want to beat Meath next year. Make no mistake about it. I want to beat Meath next year and get them back. But in the grand scheme of things, it is good for the championship. It's good for the competition to have competitiveness between the teams. The last thing you want is pure dominance. Like you look at like Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, how that just wasn't interesting because everyone knew they were going to win it. That had happened to the Leinster Championship. Now it's been broken. And Meath or Louth are going to get their hands on the Leinster trophy, which is just unbelievable. Like Meath or Louth now are going to be Leinster champions 2025. At the start of the year, you would have been a brave man to call that. And that Leinster final will be one of the most hotly contested, one of the most meaningful, probably since 2010.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you hit the nail in the coffin there. The fact that it's been 5,000 days, and Meath were the last team to knock Dublin out as well, weren't they? So, like, this is just, it's a momentous occasion. And like you said, you're comparing it to the likes of Bayern Munich. You can even compare it to, I suppose, Celtic in Scotland. It's just like it became so obvious before ball was even kicked every year who was winning the championship, and even not even just to even bet on Dublin not winning Leinster, to not even reach the final, you'd have been an extremely brave man to have predicted that. But yeah, no, look, it's a huge win for Meath, and I was very impressed with them, I have to admit, because like you picture, like they were 10 points down to Offaly in the quarterfinals. If you'd have said to somebody at halftime in Páirc Tailteann that day that in a couple of weeks' time they'll be 12 points up against Dublin in Portlaoise, you'd have been thinking, huh? Like they were nearly knocked out by us, for God's sake, So, and they finished the league poorly with the defeat to Louth, which, I mean, maybe that was a teaser all along. You never know. But yeah, no, they almost played the game like they had a point to prove. Like I was Really impressed with their tenacity, with their movement. I mean, their shooting was fantastic. There's no point saying otherwise. They were turning over Dublin at every given opportunity. Now look, Dublin came back in the second half, and they were picking off some good scores. Yeah, I mean, you have Conor Callaghan, who was doing his best. Colin Baskell had a couple of good scores. Paddy Small had a terrific game. He had a fantastic game, to his credit. He was really, really, putting in a massive shift. Costello got really, really nicely worked goal as well. So, and for the likes of Kieran Kilkenny, for the likes of Conor Callaghan, for Stephen Cluxton, I mean, what must they be thinking? This is unrivaled territory for them to be losing a Leinster
I'm
champion.
pretty sure Stephen Cluxton is the only player in this team that this isn't his first defeat in the Leinster.
Well, he certainly would have forgotten about what it feels like. It's certainly he'd be going home just thinking, what's that? That's that meme from Over the Head.
Oh yeah, do you know what I mean? Where he's like standing in the empty pool and everything. He's like sitting on the screen just like this. He's just baffled at we lost. It's so unimaginable, but in the grand scheme of things, it is good for the championship. As Brian O'Riordan says here, like a die-hard dub, Brian. He said, this is very good for Leinster. It gives Westmeath, Louth, Kildare and Meath belief and confidence, and it will bring Dublin on. We've got a very competitive Leinster championship now. Gavin O'Reilly asked, if Offaly bet Meath, do you think they would have been close to Dublin? I think they would have given them a good run, but I think, with the greatest respect, personally, I think Meath's ceiling is a little bit higher. I think the level that Meath are able to get to, I think Meath are more inconsistent than Offaly. It wouldn't surprise me at all now if Meath are flat in the Leinster final against a Louth team that they were flat against when promotion was on the line for them in Division 2. It wouldn't surprise me. They turned up 10 out of 10 in this one. And just speaking to this as a neutral now, I don't have a horse in the race of a Leinster final for the first time since I was 9 years old. Liam, speaking as neutrals, Meath and Louth in the Leinster football final. What are you expecting from that?
Well, some of my predictions haven't gone great so far in this championship. I mean, I said we'd beat Galway during the weekend. We'll get to that later on, or we could just skip it if you want. But I'm going to be honest, Louth will win it.
Okay. I'm expecting pure passion, the likes of which we haven't seen in a Leinster final since probably 2010. Just that pound for pound, lunatic, I'll follow my team to Mars for an away league game. That type of, it will mean so much to them.
It kind of just reminds me of Cork knocking out Limerick last year. It took so much effort to knock them out, and they were so drained by the end of the game that they almost thought, we have to go play another game, and they ended up losing to Clare in the All-Ireland final. Could this be another situation where you've taken down the biggest of dogs and now you have to face into another game? You don't even get the title after this game. You have to go and fight another 70 minutes. And against neighbours at the same time as well. And they'll be just as good. This is their third Leinster final in a row now, I think Louth might just win it. But at the same time, look, I've relatives in Meath. I'd be delighted if they did get over the line. Obviously, I know you don't want me to win it, but
I'm easy. I genuinely don't. To be honest, there's a part of me, and I will admit this, there's a part of me, because 2010 was such a shit show and such a daylight robbery. There's a part of me that wants Louth to win, to kind of put right the wrongs of 2010. Because let's be honest, they were the worthy Leinster champions that day. 100%. They were robbed, in broad daylight. They were robbed, and I've never seen a robbery like that since, ever. And I do kind of wish that they put that right with a Leinster title, because how much it would mean to them if they could get over the line would be spectacular. Park says it perfectly here. Louth hasn't won it since 1957. It'd be amazing if they won it. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine, just as well, for the older, the elder generation might have some memory of when Louth last won it. People who are in their 80s that are Louth fans. Could you imagine how much it would mean to them to see Louth do it? So I'm up for Louth in this final. I'm not really embarrassed to admit it. I'm always kind of up for what I would. You see, underdog definitely isn't a fair term to use, because Louth beat Meath in the league and they have been their equal over the last few years. But underdog in terms of recent success, in terms of silverware. So I think, I kind of hope they get over the line, to be honest. But we've spoke about the grand scheme of things. Let's get into the actual game. How did Meath pull this off?
Well, they started strong in comparison to their encounter against Offaly. They led 3-0 after 5 minutes. They started on the front foot. Like I said, they had a point to prove. Frayne, Costello, Conlon were all kicking scores in the opening 8 minutes. There was an unbelievable amount of 2-pointers as well. They rattled the Dubs as well. They seemingly had no answer early on. There was a stat that came up when I was watching on GAA Plus that Dublin only won 2 of their 9 kickouts after 10 minutes, which for Dublin is remarkable. And it just shows the job
as well.
Yeah, but it just shows that without a Brian Fenton or James McCarthy in the midfield, that it's a big rebuild when you're losing puckouts like that.
And it shows that in hindsight now, chopping and changing the goalkeeper every 2 weeks. We went from Gavin Sheridan back to Cluxton, back to Comerford, and then Hugh O'Sullivan came in out of nowhere and threw him in for a couple of games, and now we're back to Cluxton. And it's like, when you're chopping and changing like that, I find it hard to believe that your kick-out plan is as pinpoint as it would be if everyone knew Stephen's going to be in for the championship.
Absolutely, I know. It kind of unsettles the team as well. It's like when you're trying to pick your 3-6 midfield 11-14, you need it stable, or at least you need it somewhat stable throughout a season, and to get a bit of a cohort along the team. Moving on anyways, the likes of Keith Curtis made it an 8-point game. I suppose I expected Meath to be better than what they have been over the years, but they actually went up another level. There was a massive second half for Dublin in front of them. But in fairness to, as we call him, Big Con, he came up with a 2-pointer off the bat, added another score. He left 10 in it, which this is kind of showing how the new rules are working. The 2-pointers really make it really exciting as well, because with Dublin, if that had been last year, Dublin were 12 points down, you'd be saying, right, that's probably game over, maybe to a degree, unless obviously it is Dublin. But with the 2-pointer, you really can't say a game is over with 12 points in it, or 13 points.
I think Meath would have been happy if the old rules had been in play there and they were 12 points up.
Probably, and the clock kept stopping at times, and I'm thinking, geez, they won't like this at all. The ball is stopping just for the smallest of things. But they weathered the storm early on as well. They kept tipping over points as they needed to. Paddy Small, like I said, was kicking some very good points, trying his hardest to kickstart the comeback. Meath were defending well until Cormac Costello's goal on 53 minutes. It was squeaky bum time then for the Royals. And I suppose they could ill afford to give up another goal, because then the momentum would have been fully on Dublin's side. And it kind of left the game firmly in the balance. And even at Dublin, Meath were holding on to the ball. They were kind of losing it in patches, and Dublin were coming forward. There were 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 times when Dublin were going forward, looking to get another score. But I couldn't tell whether they were trying to either kick a 1-pointer and bring the game back to a point. They were either working it back out to try and get a 2-pointer to level it, or if they were trying to expose a hole in the back to try and work a goal. It was very confusing, to be honest. I think they probably should have just kept kicking over points, kept the scoreboard thinking, look, everyone's guilty of it. You see a goal opportunity, you want to try and take it. And now in Gaelic football, you want to try and get a 2-pointer instead. But it just didn't work for them. Aaron Lynch scored, and it left 3 points in with 90 seconds left. Dublin essentially just needed a goal or bust. Meath went up the other end, won a free, and just the elation when they won that free, even more so than I'd say when the ball was kicked over the bar by Owen Frayne the last minute. It was just pandemonium. And Desi Farrell had shook hands before the ball was even kicked. He shaked Robbie Brennan down before the ball was even kicked then. So I think that kind of showed that the game was over, but a bit of class as well, And cue the on pitch invasion. I think I could hear it on the Tannoy overs, please don't invade the pitch or whatever. And I'm thinking, good luck trying to get these. That's not happening. That's not happening. They're going to invade the pitch, and they don't. COVID could be on the pitch, and they don't care. They're going to invade. It was an incredible game of football. I really enjoyed watching it. The two games. I know Donegal was on too, but the 2 Leinster football games today were really good games, and it does show that now that Dublin have lost, that there is really good competition in Leinster, and I hope to God that it kind of kickstarts a real revolution in Leinster football.
Me too. With the grace of God, let it return to the mid-90s to the early 2000s, where Westmeath won it in 04, Laois won it in 03, Offaly won it in 97, Kildare won it in 98 and 2000, Meath won it in 99 and 01, Dublin won it in 02. And if you go back and you watch Dublin winning it in 2002, the celebrations are All-Ireland level. Like, they're literally on the pitch in tears. Like, and you're looking at it now compared to how, like, McCarthy and Johnny Cooper and how they used to lift the cup. They used to be like, yeah, grand, move on to the next game. The value had been taken away from it, and now the fact that it's been taken away from Dublin, they're going to be dying to get it back. And I think that's one thing as well that you said that we need to give Meath credit for, is Dublin roared back into the contest. Cormac Costello got the goal, and all of a sudden Meath were in a position where they definitely would have had the creeps in the head, like, that. Are you about to throw this away? Are you about to undo all the good work that you've had? Aaron Lynch getting that score, and the key moments going down the home stretch, they managed to get themselves over the line. The confidence that will give them going forward is unbelievable. But I give one example. 2010 in the Connacht Championship, Sligo went through Mayo and they went through Galway after a replay. Then they had Roscommon in the final. Everybody tipped them to sweep Roscommon out the gate. We all remember Downey Shine's performance. Roscommon took it.
Yeah.
Sligo felt that day that all they had to do was turn up and take the cup, and Roscommon were waiting for them in the long grass. Meath have gotten over an amazing challenge, but they have another huge challenge now standing between them and the Leinster Championship, because this Louth team is no joke, as emphasised by their victory over Kildare in the other Leinster semi-final, which leads us on nicely. Kildare 18 points, Louth 118 in the other Leinster semi-final. Louth get over the line thanks to the major that they got, and Kildare didn't. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, similarly to me, Kildare were on the front foot very early on. They're shooting some good scores. They were turning over possession very well. Louth were very slow to come out the tracks, not being able to deal with the threat of Alex Byrne, Derek Kerwin. I mean, especially those two, they were destroying the Louth backline. Like, Louth literally were very exposed at the back. They didn't know how to deal with them at all. But Kildare were working the ball well. They were using the ball in a constructive manner. And I suppose they were being very patient in their build-up as well, but they were clinical at the same time. A lot more clinical than what I've seen of them the couple of times I've seen them in person this season. But yeah, they were working the ball well. But I did mention kind of during the week, or well, I think a lot of us kind of felt the same way, that if Sam Mulroy was fit, then that was a big advantage to Louth. But weren't sure whether he'd be starting, but he did start. He kicked a 2-pointer from about 50 yards out, which was just, I mean, a player like him can only a player like him can do that. A caliber of his foot, can do that. It was an unbelievable kick. But yeah, Kildare would not have been best pleased to have only been a point ahead, coming forward to halftime, because for me they played the much better football. But Mulroy kicked another 2-pointer. And then you had Kieran McCardle doing fierce well to find Conan the keeper for the goal just on the edge of halftime. For some reason, I thought they were about to disallow it for a square ball, but the goal was given anyways, and in the end, it's the major difference. But yeah, Ryan Sinky brought back the 2 points. Derek Kerwin was still keeping Kildare within touching distance. Craig Lennon, though, I mean, he's a terrific footballer, and he was a driving force in that second half. When you speak about leaders that you need to get you over the line in these sort of games, Craig Lennon was that player. I believe he scored 3 points in the second half alone. He was up and down the field. He was such a real attacking. He kind of reminds me of Lee Pearson from Offaly. Like, he's an attacking defender. He'll do his job at the back, but any chance he gets a sniffing going forward, or like even like Mark Coleman for Cork Hurling as well, or Kyle Hayes, when he sees 100 yards in front of him, he's going for it. And yeah, no,
the box office player as well. It's like a Jack McCaffrey-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, Jack, there you go. Probably the best example you could give, to be honest with you, for the way he just was. Like, he was a great goal scorer. He would have done very well at corner forward, in my opinion, because he knew where the back. But yeah, no, he was on song to restore their lead late on as well. When Alex Byrne had levelled it a couple of minutes earlier. Tommy Dernan's 2-pointer from a long distance out as well was an unbelievable one, and one that was worthy of winning any game, let alone a provincial semi-final. And he had an excellent game as well. So yeah, for Louth, I think they probably performed better in the second half. Kildare would have felt that they should have gone in front at half time, but overall, I think Kildare probably will look back and say that Louth are probably deserving winners. And it's a shame for them as well when you look at the result that's just happened. They'll probably be seeing this as a massively missed opportunity as well. And especially now that they're going into the Tailteann Cup as well, which won't be simple because they have to go up Westmeath in the Tailteann Cup, I believe, aren't they? And Offaly, St. Edmunds, the best in the league twice. Fermanagh no pushover either. So it will be a tough kind of sobering experience for them that they are going into the Tailteann Cup, but take nothing away from Louth. They're in a third Leinster final in a row, and with that result, I'd say even if Dublin had won, they'd have still maybe gone, do you know what? Maybe we can push them again, give it another crack and see what happens this year. But now with Dublin gone and Meath in the final, and given the history as well, then I think Louth will be licking their lips and they'll be thinking this is the opportunity.
Yeah, of a lifetime, like of a lifetime. This is why everything's been built. From when Mickey Hart came in, from when Ger Brennan carried it on, it was to get here and it was to get to a Leinster final. Guys, we've got a fair few people watching. Throw in the comments below, Louth or Meath, and by how much. Right now, I'm going to let my heart overrule my head, and a little bit of bitterness as well on the side, just a little bit of it over the top. I'm going to say Louth by a couple of points, but I would not be surprised if it goes either way. I think Meath have proved themselves. There's no doubt about it. Liam, verdict? You said Louth by how much?
I'm going to go Louth after extra time.
Okay, and then I'm going to run away from all the Meath fans. I'm locking myself in the bunker. I can already hear it. What do we have to do to earn respect? I'm like,
just
that
win. That scene from The Simpsons. Please don't find out how I live.
Yeah. I'm backing into the hedge slowly. All right, we will move then out of the Leinster Championship and we'll move up to Ulster. Now, at the start of the weekend, this one would have jumped out as being the obvious one to be first. It was a cracker. This one was unbelievable. Armagh 23 points, Tyrone 22. After the buzzer, Rory Grugan slots over that free, and Armagh, the All-Ireland champions, beat Tyrone. Caro Kane, in his tweet, put this brilliantly. He just said, Tyrone showed why they are All-Ireland contenders, but Armagh showed why they are All-Ireland champions. What a game this was.
Yeah, I was it was a shame because I didn't really get to see this one at first because I was watching the Dublin Wexford game and then I was going into the Offaly game, but I got to watch a good amount of it there kind of last night and this morning. And yeah, that kind of sums it up. You've got to give massive credit to Tyrone, first of all. They were down by 5 with 20 to play. They were down by 5 on 2 occasions, and they almost saw a huge result in the semi-final. And to be fair to Armagh, I mean, look, there is a reason why they're All-Ireland champions. They found a way to get over the line in these sort of games, and now they've set up an Ulster final encounter with Donegal again, which will be tasty to say the least. Yeah, Rory Grugan, I mean, what a player. Yeah. Giving him a free from that distance is bread and butter to him, but you still have to kick it over with the pressure that he's under as well. He was able to kick it over, and cue the celebrations from Armagh. But yeah, Oisin Connaughton had a super game. Oisin O'Neill had a very good game. Darren McCurry with 10 points for Tyrone as well. I mean, for a player like him to have ended up on the losing side is a shame, to be honest with you. He's a player that deserves to play in an Ulster final to compete for All Ireland's. But you know, it's tough on him. But I suppose that's why we play it. You have good players, you've bad players, or you've players that play bad, but they'll get a medal, and then you have players like that who give it their all, and they'll probably drag their team to basically a 1 point defeat. You know, because without him today, I don't know what everyone would have been. But listen, the Armagh bench as well was fantastic. You saw Turbot, Stephen Campbell give Armagh just that extra bit of spice to the attack, and it was much needed when Tyrone hit back late on as well. And yeah, that is the truth. This proves that Tyrone's league finish for me. We spoke about it a while back. It felt wrong in a way because, like, this is a right good Tyrone team, and on 2 different occasions they came back from 5 down. They showed bottle. They'll be devastated not to go over the line in this one. Darragh Canavan finished with 4 points. Peter Hart came off the bench with a terrific 2-pointer, which leveled things. The midfield battle felt like it was a bit maybe a bit of a draw, but Armagh's midfield did contribute to 4 points, which is a massive tally as well. So yeah, I think Armagh overall maybe slightly deserved the win, but take nothing away from Tyrone. They were without doubt a contender for this year's All-Ireland title. They've shown that today, and they will not fear anyone in this year's championship either. The players that they have as well, I'm looking forward to seeing their response now in the All-Ireland series. But I did say that Armagh would win Ulster, and I'm still backing that up. I still think they actually might get over the line against Donegal, but obviously that will be that will be a cracker. Whether it will, I think that it will be in Croke Park, I believe, from what we've heard.
Well,
Which
that was what people were saying if it was Armagh Donegal.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still not the biggest fan of that. I think an Ulster final in Clones is the place to be for this as well. But look, at the end of the day, I suppose when you're in the final and you're from either one of those counties, you're not going to care too much once you're there. So I think we're going to be in for a classic encounter. Will it be the All-Ireland Champions, or will it be Jim McGuinness only losing one Ulster game still? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, a cracking game of football. Really, really enjoyed having a look at it.
No, it was superb. Just like the way both teams expressed themselves going forward. I personally think that it's probably, this is just speculating, but probably the main reason that McGeaney stayed. I think he has a bone to pick. I think he has one more piece of the puzzle left. He wants to win that Ulster Championship because of just how much it means to the Ulster counties to get their hands on the Anglo-Celt. It means so much to them. And like you look at Brian Lohan at Clare in a very similar situation. You want to get your hands on the provincial championship. You've got the All-Ireland. You've got what should be the harder one. And now it's time to go back and complete the next one. Yeah, I definitely think they've a right good chance. It's so hard to predict between the two of them because they're so evenly matched. And I think if Donegal had got past Galway, again, toss of a coin who would have won that All-Ireland final. Because the one thing that I've noticed, especially with the Ulster counties, is by God do they rise to meet each other's standards. Like they don't let anyone get ahead of the pack. Even when Tyrone had a generational team of Stephen O'Neill, Peter Canavan, Owen Mulligan, Brian Dewar, like Conor Gormley, you can go on and on. Basically, nobody would let them go. Armagh kept up in their standards. Derry kept up in their standards and winning Ulster titles, and Down would up their standards and beat them one year. Like it is sensational how it goes. Now, I love the responses in here, guys. I asked a couple of minutes ago who would win the Leinster final. We got the predictions in here now. Killian McMullen says, think Meath will get over the line by 2. Porrick 1998 comes in with his prediction, with a superb example as well of the situation that Meath could be in. He says, I think Louth will win, similar to how Tip beat Cork in 2020. Of course, remember Cork taking out Kerry with the Mark Keane goal in that semi-final, and then Tip were waiting in the long grass in that final. Brian says Louth by 4 points. Gavin O'Reilly says Louth by 2. I believe that is the final prediction. It is indeed. Killian also says here, Ulster GAA page put it up as Clones after the Donegal match. I wonder, is that the fans having their say? And if it is, if the fans wanted to be in Clones, it should be in Clones, because the history and the tradition of having it in Clones certainly is, it cannot be underestimated at all. Brian says it's in Clones on May 10th at 5:25 p.m. If Brian says it, it's true. Don't doubt it, Brian. This man knows this stuff. I've known that. He's bailed me out a few times on the pod, maybe, allegedly. No, what are you talking about, man? I show you my phone there. Yeah, but Brian's like Matthew as well. Like, you know, when Matthew says something, for anyone who is new to the channel, Matthew Early, Gaelic Stats Man, Liam, if Matthew says something about the GAA, it's true. Like, it just is true. Matthew could tell me that Dublin have not won the last 15 Leinster titles, and I would. 14, and I would strongly doubt it. Yeah, but we're going to move to the other Ulster semi-final now, because not only do we have all of the other games, but we have, on top of that, we have the hurling to get into. So it is, of course, down 16 points. Donegal 119. This was always going to be a tricky one for Donegal, but they got over the line by 6 points. Jim McGuinness' stellar record in Ulster continues. Only one defeat, of course, as you said, that was to Monaghan back in 2013. He's motoring on. They get passed down in a brilliant game.
Yeah, and again, it was kind of a shame that this was all on while Kildare Louth was on, while Waterford Clare was on. I was only kind of half watching it. I kind of saw when Donegal went about, I think it was 110 to 6 points up. I kind of switched it off and said, right, I think that's going. I think I can kind of guess the result from here, and I did. You know, Donegal, I wouldn't say they were in second gear, but I think they certainly had a bit too much for Down. I feel like if they had to go up another level, they would have. But yeah, no, nothing really separated them early on. But when you have the likes of Murphy, Gallen, and McBrearty in your team, and their shooting boots were certainly on today, then you're going to be in for a long day. Darragh Wheel as well. We spoke about him a few weeks back. You know, he's a terrific shooter of the ball as well. I think McBrearty's goal, I feel, kind of built that distance that Donegal would have wanted as well, away from a potential down threat. Murphy and McBrearty were really enjoying themselves out there, kind of had the game.
So McBrearty's goal let them open up the top button a bit.
Yeah,
gets an area in, like.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of had the game. I feel like they kind of had the game won by halftime, to be honest with you. They kind of just kept ticking the scoreboard over and against Down and playing at their own pace, and Down really just had no answer to their I suppose, not really blanket defense, but their very stern defense. You know, you never had a real worry that Down were going to kind of break it down. I can't believe I just said that. Yeah.
Make a remix of it.
I got to work on my grammar, but yeah. Look, it's a tough defeat for them, but I don't think when you're going up against basically one of the top contenders for the All-Ireland title, if you only lose by 6 points, it's not the worst result in the world. But yeah, I wouldn't say it felt inevitable, but in a way, I was hoping to see another Armagh Donegal final after last year's penalty shootout as well. I remember I was on Erasmus last year in Sweden. I think I was watching Arsenal beat Manchester United, even though we're not doing that this year. But I remember putting on the Ulster final. I had a Swedish man behind me asking what sport I was watching, and he got excited by it for the last 5 minutes in extra time. He couldn't believe what was going on. And I was happy for Donegal, but I was also devastated for Armagh to see them losing.
I remember it. They did a penalty shootout loss again, and the thing is right. Armagh have gone and won the All-Ireland.
Yeah.
That has changed, in my opinion, their confidence. You cannot underestimate. They got over the line in the most ultimate of stages. They got over the line in the highest and most pressure cookered arena. Because this time last year, Armagh were about to lose an Ulster final to Donegal on penalties. And the narrative at that time was Armagh didn't get over the line. Armagh should have closed it out in extra time, or they should have closed it out in normal time. They should not have been in those positions. And then why are they not practicing penalties? How do they keep losing? People weren't as sympathetic. They were more kind of pointing the finger at them now at this stage. If this keeps happening to you, why do you keep ending up in these positions? And the difference is now, Armagh know they can get over the line in these tight games. They got over the line in such a tight All-Ireland semi-final, and then they got over the line in such a tight All-Ireland final against Galway to win the biggest prize. And their confidence now, you cannot buy that. Even an example there in their win over Tyrone this weekend. They got over the line in a razor-tight game that was a classic. Armagh found a way to win, which is the key thing that made them All-Ireland champions last year. They found a way to win in their two most important games of the season. So the confidence that will bring them, I would not be surprised at all if they win the Ulster Championship. I think it's completely 50-50, flip of a coin. I genuinely am because you can analyze it and then Armagh could just show up on an off day, or Donegal could just show up on an off day. Personally, I'm shading actually this one to Armagh. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to go Armagh as well. I just feel like
I feel like it's their time.
Yeah, and I think for certain counties as well, if you manage to get over the line and win an All-Ireland, say, and not your provincial title, or if you haven't won your provincial title for a while, but you manage to get a win in the All-Ireland, probably similarly to maybe Clare, although it's probably after today's result, it might be a bit more difficult for them. But I feel like for the likes of McGeeney, winning the All-Ireland, yes, it's absolutely incredible, and they'll cherish that for the rest of their lives, of course. But I think just for their inner circle, like you said, teams in Ulster bring out the best in each other, and they don't like each other, and they want to prove that they are better than, say, the other one.
They love taking each other down a peg, don't they? They love being you think you're the shit now, do you? Right, we're going to beat you.
Probably similarly to maybe the Premier League, where say if team in 4th or 5th won the Champions League, and you'd be looking at the Premier League champions, be like, well, no, we're still better than you. You won a couple of, say, knockout games or whatever. It's probably similar to that. But yeah, I just think it's Armagh's time. I think they'll be just absolutely. I feel like Donegal will want to win the All-Ireland more this year because they've won the Ulster title. They've won it on a couple of occasions. But for Armagh, I'd say the Ulster title is the ultimate grail. And if they didn't win the All-Ireland this year, but they got their hands on Ulster, I'd say they'd be more than happy to bite your hand off for that now But then again, sure, if you offer them the two of them, then they're obviously not going to say no to that either. But
yeah, I think McGeeney's the type of winner that he'll want to go through the front door to back-to-back All-Irelands, because on top of that, Armagh have never done back-to-back All-Irelands. So if McGeeney can somehow get Armagh through Ulster and win the All-Ireland. Now, I said at the start of the year, and I stand by this, if you look back through history, genuinely just look back through the history books, whenever a team breaks a duck, like whenever a team wins the All-Ireland for the first time in 15 plus years, they usually don't win it the next year. They usually don't. Limerick, one of the greatest hurling teams of all time, without question. They won it in 2018, lost in the semi-final in 2019. Dublin, 2011, finally won it for the first time since 1995. 2012, lost in the semi-final. Like, there's plenty of examples that you can dig up where when a team finally gets over the line, they don't tend to go back-to-back. Galway are probably the closest I've seen, when Galway won it in 2017 and then they nearly went back-to-back in 2018. But for Armagh, I feel like if they win Ulster, their hunger might be a little bit satisfied compared to Galway, who have been chasing this All-Ireland for years, or Donegal, who've been chasing this All-Ireland for years. And Tyrone, maybe, who might be looking for revenge. Kerry as well, who are looking to prove themselves. Like, there's a lot. Dublin now are going to be, a wounded animal, without question. And there's so many dark horses now all of a sudden, out of the blue. If you're saying Dublin, why not say Meath? Like, it just really, really does. All of a sudden, the landscape has completely changed. Brian is going for Donegal. He says Donegal bench and panel is very strong and they are definitely favourites. He says also the LGFA Ulster Senior Championship final is forming part of a double header, things we love to see. Shawnee Kane makes a great point here. He says you could see a direct turnaround this time with Armagh winning Ulster and Donegal winning the All-Ireland. I wouldn't be surprised if that turns out to happen. Killian is going for Armagh. He says third time lucky. Porrick says, I think Armagh will win this time unless it goes to penalties. No Ulster county has won back-to-back All-Ireland since Down in 1960 and 1961. That is a extraordinary stat. That's an absolutely extraordinary stat. Have you just been broken into or something?
No, but my door is open, so I have the window open, so give me 2 seconds.
But yeah, so those guys, keep the predictions coming in. If you're watching, I'd love to get your take on it. Who is going to win the Ulster football final of 2025, Armagh or Donegal? And are you happy that it's going to be on in Clonard? So would you prefer Croke Park? Because there is some piece of nostalgia for me looking at an Armagh Tyrone game in Croke Park in 06. Like, those games were crackers. 05 as well. Peter Canavan's late free, the brawl where Peter Canavan himself got dragged halfway across the pitch by Kieran McKeever. Like, Ronan Clark in those games was a baller as well for Armagh. Stevie McDonnell. Just the quality on display in those games was unbelievable. Now, we're done with the football. Or we're done with the men's football, so we'll come back to the LGFA. Jim Byrne, will someone check on Aaron?
I hope he's not watching this.
Oh, God. Aaron is in a weird headspace right now because Liverpool won the league and Dublin lost in Leinster. As I said, I am a little bit more objective. Aaron's a diehard Dub. I definitely am a big Dublin fan. But I want the game to be as competitive as possible, and I want the game to be as entertaining as possible. Ideally, I'd love a new champion every year, to be honest. I'd want to win every couple of years, maybe 3-4 years, but I'd love to see like Wexford win it and Wicklow win it, and I'd love to see like the games thrive in all of these counties. Like, me personally, for hurling, I love the Munster Championship as much as anybody, but I'd love to see Ulster hurling explode onto the scene. I'd love to see Connacht hurling. I'd love to see like a Mayo be good enough to beat Galway. And the possibilities that could open up for our game would just be extraordinary. So the bigger, the better. There's plenty of food. Let everyone eat. That's kind of my thought about it with the GAA. So we're switching over from men's football. We're going over to hurling now. And the result of the weekend that just jumps out. Waterford, with this one win, have now shot ahead of Tip. They've shot ahead of Clare. And they've shot ahead of Limerick as well by winning this game. Beating Clare 223 to 21 points. The All-Ireland champions have been defeated in round 2. What a result this is for Waterford.
And even on Aaron's point, Liverpool have won the league, so he hasn't had that bad of a day, has he? So, I mean, yeah, but yeah, no, this game was interesting to watch. Clare, I mean, first of all, when you heard the news that Tony Kelly was out, I mean, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a long day for Clare potentially, with Shane O'Donnell already out as well. I think Conor Cleary was out as well. It was just, you're thinking of all three players. You'd probably say, along with maybe John Connellan, those are three players that you just do not need out if you're Clare.
Ryan as well is big loss.
Exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, no, Waterford, I mean, again, they were very early starters as well. They led by 3 after 10 minutes. Patrick Curran started strong. Darragh Lyons, for me, I know Desi Hutchinson probably got man of the match, but for me, Darragh Lyons swept up shop in the midfield at the start of the game. He got 3 points from play as well. He was like N'Golo Kante for Chelsea. He was just everywhere. You know, he just, anytime you saw, or Joe Hendry from WWTNA, just say his name and he appears, you know, just absolutely. But yeah, Jamie Barron as well. I mean, he's just a terrific hurler. He's someone that deserves to have a Munster medal or an All-Ireland medal in his back pocket. He's a terrific player. He's kind of him and Fitzgibbon. You can play them midfield, you can play them centre forward, and they're going to deliver every day of the week. They were absolutely unbelievable.
And this is the second year in a row, man, that Waterford have reminded everybody, like, hold on, we're still here, right? Because everyone was saying Waterford will finish 5th. Like last year, they shocked Cork in round 1. This year, they've shocked Clare in round 2. And now the whole Munster Championship has opened up for them. It's all in their own hands. If they do their job, they will get out of the Munster Championship. And what an extraordinary achievement that is for them, because while, yes, we know the talent that they have, they were the only team in the Munster Championship not to be playing in Division 1A in the league. It's remarkable what they're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would probably say last year's win over Cork was a bit more of a shock maybe than this year's, just because I did not see them, or I didn't see, just I felt Cork had built up a bit of momentum towards the end of the league last year that I thought, okay, they should surely take care of business against Waterford. Whereas today, I'm not overly surprised. Like when you do look at Clare, yes, they had a great comeback against Cork last week, but they were extremely poor in that first half last week against Cork. Like I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like you wouldn't, if someone had told you, or if someone, say, who doesn't watch GAA had said to you that these were the All-Ireland winners last year, you wouldn't have believed them. You know, they were all over the shop last week. And even again today, look, I'll give them their dues with some things anyways. Shane Meehan came in as a replacement and he played very, very well. Cathal Malone started off strong and actually had an all right game. But, I mean, their free take was awful. Mm-hmm. Aidan McCarthy's usually very reliable on frees. Today, his free taking was just, it was horrible, to put it that way, you know, and he's usually so reliable. David Reedy took over free duty when McCarthy was taken off. And again, same thing, just nothing changed. I don't know what was wrong with them today, but it just, when at this level, you cannot, I mean, really in any game, especially nowadays, you can't be missing frees. But at this level, against this level of opposition as well, you cannot be missing frees. Stephen Bennett was on them. He was not missing a free, and you don't expect him to miss them either, to be fair. He's a very clinical striker of the ball. Gotta give credit as well to Billy Nolan in goal. Stephen O'Keefe will have a tough job taking his spot back, because Billy Nolan, I saw him when I saw him in the league game that we played against him when he saved a penalty from Brian Dykman, and I was like, wow, I didn't know he had that in his locker. And since then, yeah, he was unbelievable today. He pulled off some marvelous saves in that game there today. But yeah, no, Stephen Bennett's 2 goals were just absolutely fantastic, especially the second goal as well. There was a strong wind there. I thought the ball was going out, but he managed to keep it in play. Took the pass to Ever Quilligan in nets, and he just tormented the Clare backline. And even just some of the scores that he got from some very, very tricky angles as well. His flicks, the way he was just able to put his hand out and just catch it and just bring it into his stride within nearly 0.1 of a second was unbelievable. Ryan Taylor as well, I meant to mention as well. He put in a good shift as well, to be fair to him, for Clare. But yeah, their defense was really, really poor. I have to say, Adam Hogan's had a really, really tough week.
Wait, just one sec. We'll get to that. I do see it.
Let it out. Let it out.
Yeah, no, I'll just get into my presenter mode. And the Oscar goes to. My Matthew says here, we're going to talk about Adam Hogan's dive. Me personally, the thing that you have to factor into this is Adam Hogan absolutely tears into people the other way. So to see him go down like that wasn't a great look. I thought initially when he got a flick, it was like because I was trying to play devil's advocate. I was like, okay, did it hit the funny bone on his elbow? But then why does his right arm come up? Was he expecting Desi to come in with a left shoulder and he was ready to make a meal out of the contact and try and get a free that way? But it wasn't a good look, was it? And I seen it on Hurling banter as well with the, the comedy music in the background. Like, yeah, I think if I were Adam, I'd probably throw my phone in in the locker for a couple of days.
Don Cusick as well. I don't know if you saw him. Just simply said, "Tell that the way it is, bullshit." And then we had to rewind it. We had to rewind it back. We were like, "Did he just say that?" But yeah, he was not a fan of it at all. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, "Look, okay, he's got hit. There's contact, but like, there's not enough Look, I've played hurling for years. I've been hit like that. I've been hit worse than that, and you just don't go down like that. You know, you just it's not. There wasn't enough there to suggest that he's. I didn't even realize he held his right arm instead. I didn't realize he did that. But yeah, it's not a good look for him. And obviously, look, he had last week as well. I mean, taking away say the antics, he had a torrid time on Alan Connolly. Alan Connolly, his name, Alan Connolly last week. And he's had another tough week today. And like, he is a terrific defender. Nobody's going to deny that. He was unbelievable for Clare last year. He was a revolution for Clare last year in the back. But he has really started his championship very poorly. And I hope he doesn't kind of go down this route of trying to get, I wouldn't even say he was trying to maybe get him sent off, but trying to make a meal out of situations like this, because that's what people will remember him for. You know, I want to see the Adam Hogan that was breaking through tackles in the All-Ireland semi-final against Kilkenny, and you know, even the performance that he put in the All-Ireland final last year. I want to see that Adam Hogan, not kind of this one at the moment. But yeah, no. I suppose, look, Cillian Murphy won an Oscar. I suppose we'll get a second Irish winner now, which is good. But yeah, no, it was a strange situation, anyways. But look, anyway, credit to Waterford, anyways. They deserved the win. And listen, I'm delighted that they've won this game, because it does open up the Munster Championship, and it does show that, you know, they'll, especially after that Cork Tip game as well, they'll be targeting Tipperary and saying, listen, we could go out and beat these lot as well. We can go up to Semple Stadium. Should have bet them last year. There was a situation with James Owens as well, but they also still finished the game poorly. They should have won that game last year. They'll absolutely eye up Semple Stadium and say, listen, we can absolutely go and win this game here and get either a third place finish or could reach a Munster final, but get a minimum a third place finish. And after the years of not getting out of Munster, I'd say they're more desperate than ever to get out of the round robin series.
No, certainly. Match says here, he said it from a long way out. Waterford were primed to beat Clare. Really impressed by Barron and Lyons around the middle. Ryan O'Riordan also says, what a brilliant performance. The ability to mix up short and long ball and run through the lines was very impressive. Look, Waterford were superb. Stephen Bennett with 2 ace, Jamie Barron with 4 points, him and Darragh Lyons. Darragh Lyons got 3. Around the middle, the two of them were superb. Tig de Burka being back at 6 is just invaluable to the team. And I think him being injured all those years has been a big reason why maybe they haven't hit the potential that a lot of people would have picked for them in 22 when they won the league. Just on the Adam Hogan situation, he's an unbelievable hurler and he's an unbelievable defender. But I'm not liking the route that he's gone down, where it's so obvious now that, you know, talking smack and, you know, the constant, what would you call it, sledging is like a real part of his game. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think Alan Connolly was doing nothing in the Cork game towards Adam Hogan? Probably not. But Hogan always seems to be the one involved. Do you know what I mean? He's like the common denominator. And like Porrick chose in the comment here, he's a professional diver according to Wikipedia. Like, my thing is, like, you don't want to get known for diving. You don't want to get known as someone who does that, because not only will it stick with you long into your retirement, it will also affect how some referees make decisions. Because if he gets decked, like if he gets absolutely taken out of it, a referee might think, he dives the odd time.
Yeah.
And it might actually cost Clare. Because if you saw someone like Paddy Maher, for example, go down, you'd be like, you would take a train to knock Paddy Maher down. So obviously he's been decked. But if Adam Hogan has a habit of diving and massively exaggerating contact, that could cost Clare. If someone deserves a red card, they might get away with it. Like, that could cost them down the line. Another very good example is like Tiernan McCann. Tiernan McCann, unbelievable footballer, but for most people, when they think of him, they'll think of him getting his hair ruffled and going to the ground, holding his face, and getting Darren Hughes sent off. Like, we don't like to see that in our game. He's an amazing hurler. He's an absolutely amazing defender. Just cut that out of your game. The rest is superb, and you're good enough to play for Clare without it. And now referees are going to be switched on to it after that, because that clip has done the rounds. We've seen it all over Instagram, all over Twitter. And yeah, just cut that out of your game. And he's a brilliant hurler without it. Brian here talking about Aaron. He says, at least Liverpool won the Premier League. Yeah. But wow, Waterford's win has really opened it up. And on top of that, Cork responded. 427 to 24 points. They beat Tipperary by. Matthew, if you're still watching, we would love to hear your take on this as a proud Cork man, because this was a needed response for Cork. A lot of people talking smack about Cork, the way that they lost the lead at halftime against Clare. Well, they've roared back and they've answered that. Very, very dominant win over Tipperary. Do you want to talk about the Darren McCarthy thing first, or do you want to leave that until a little bit later? Okay, let's go into it first. Okay, Darren McCarthy's red card right at the start of the game. Harsh or deserved?
Deserved. 100%. I like Darren McCarthy.
Get ready to hide. They're coming for you.
What's O'Donoghue doing making a meal out of it? No. For me, I like McCarthy as a player. And listen, there's adrenaline, especially when you're young, you're 19, you're playing in a high-profile game like this. There's 45,000 people watching you. You're going to be a small bit, maybe anxious in a way, but you're going to be raring to go, ready to just get your socks into it. But to have gone and done what he did was fairly, I think it was a learning experience for him, that you just cannot do this in any game, really. And especially, like, it's just the fact that, like, the ball threw in. And obviously I was at home watching this, but even my friend who was in the press box in Cork just was asking me at halftime what happened. He didn't even see it. He was just seeing what was happening down the far end, where there was all the other lads in the tip back line in the Cork full forward line that were baiting the heads off each other. But I just saw, was it Alan Tynan or someone in the middle, or was it Dar Stakelum just taking a ball and shooting it, and we were waiting for the flag to go up for either a point or a wide, and then all of a sudden you just see Sean O'Donoghue on the ground, and you're like, what? What's after happening here? And then you can hear the crowd screaming, and you're like, there's been a red card, hasn't there? And it was only until halftime we saw it. O'Donoghue's run into his position to the cornerback. McCarthy runs over, hits him a jostle into the back. O'Donoghue squares up to him. He squares up to O'Donoghue. And then, look, O'Donoghue could have said something, I don't know. But McCarthy then grabs the bottom of the heel of the hurl into his chest or his stomach or whatever. I initially thought it was into his manberries, but into his stomach instead. And look, you just can't go doing that. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter, what the context you put behind it is. You can't go doing that, especially with, there's cameras there. There's obviously the referee wouldn't have seen it. Was it his linesman or his umpire? I'm not sure who saw it, but it's a red card situation. You can't go doing that, especially at the start of a game as well. I thought Jason Sampson's red card against Westmeath last year for us was the quickest red card I'll ever see in hurling. This is top class. This is next level. And it's a shame. People will say it ruined the game. For me, if you're a referee in this situation, you have to make a decision. And, he made the right decision in the end. McCarthy will not be best pleased when he sees that back. I think he probably knew straight away that he's after making a big, massive F up here, So when he looks back on that tonight, he won't be happy with himself. He'll be probably kicking himself, to be honest with you. I think somebody said that it could be a 2-game ban for him as well, because it was a hit or it was like an intentional off the ball.
Yeah, strike. So
But yeah, it's very tough for him, but it's a learning curve. But yeah, no, 100% a red card for me. You can't go doing that.
Yeah, like I do feel for him though in a way, because number one, he is a young lad. I mean, he's very new onto the senior setup. He's a superb player, and I think he would be expecting, a defender like O'Donoghue to tear into him. So I think, on top of that, the hype and energy that he would feel playing in front of, a packed out crowd like that, and feeling like he needs to lay down a marker to such an experienced defender. Like, you're not going to push me around. I might be a young lad, but I'm going to stand up for myself type here. And just went a little bit too far. And the other thing as well that I feel for him in a way, now I'm not saying that it wasn't a red card, but I am saying he got caught. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the Clare Cork game, there seemed to be something going on off the ball every 2 seconds, and there seemed to be potential flashpoints every couple of seconds. And in this game as well, I think as the game would have gone on, I think it would have gone that way. I think if the Tip Cork game was the first game of championship, I think maybe in a way the referee was trying to lay down a marker that I'm not having this shit today. Like I'm not doing this. If you do this, you're off. And maybe he was trying to say that by doing that. But for McCarthy, I really do feel for him because he's a young lad. He's a super hurler, and you're right. This is going to be a very, very harsh lesson for him because he was in bits when he was going off. Like it really hit him hard immediately. And Cork marched on to what was a very comprehensive win. And latching on to that, what impressed you about Cork?
Declan Dalton, Séamus Harnedy, Patrick Horgan, Brian Hayes. Those wing players were absolutely sensitive. Patrick Horgan is playing like someone who's 27, not 37. He could genuinely play. He said that he could play till he's 40, and I actually believe him at this stage. I've never seen him more fit in my life. Just even his awareness to read a situation, when to pass, when to shoot, and his movement off the ball as well to get himself into positions. The dummy that he sold for the goal as well. Like, he's just playing out of his skin. He really wants that All-Ireland medal this year. Decky Dalton was brought back in due to Shane Barrett's red card last week, and he just poked everything over the bar that was given to him. He has an unbelievable strike on him, an absolutely incredible strike. I thought Séamus Harnedy played well, got 5 points from the wing as well, which is a positive for him. It gives Pat Ryan a bit of a think ahead of the next day. Does he bring Bart back in? Does he trust Harnedy again? Brian Hayes is a goal poacher. But even just his ability to, push a fella away. He's such a big guy as well. Like, he's not a small fella in the slightest, but he's so quick for a guy of his size, and he's so strong. Beautiful striker of the ball as well. So, yeah, I think the big concern for Cork though will be Robert Downey going off. That could be crucial for them. I kind of felt, look, he's obviously a very important player to Cork. Arguably, probably you could say Cork's most important player, but he wasn't 100% fit. I don't think anyways he was 100% fit going into this game, and I think they probably could have done without playing him in this game. Look, hindsight's a great thing, but I just think you have so many important games coming up, and when you have a player of that stature, that magnitude, that size, and he's going off injured, and especially in a game where, let's be honest, they had this game won after 10-15 minutes with the 3 goals.
Yeah,
it could be a really bad situation for them. But look, they do have a strong panel. Like, they brought Ger Mellerick on, and he did a fine job as well. So they might be okay. And look, they have a break now, which is good for them to get ready.
They need that break. They need that break big time, because you look at the knocks that they picked up in the Clare game, like Rob Downey, and like, they need to get those lads back fit, rehab them, make sure they're ready to go. Matthew here says, first of all, felt terrible for Dara. Definite red, though. Concerning at some aspects, to be honest. Tip had 43 shots with 14 men and had 7 more turnovers. Goals really sealed it. A lot to improve on for Limerick. Thankful there was a 3-week break. Could be positive for us. This is one thing I don't really understand, man. How do we have the championship starting on top of the league, but now a 3-week break? I forgot. It's just fixture planning. What do we know? I've gone into a bubble or something, have I? All right, I'm back out. Coleman Long here says, Clare started their Olympic diving course 4 years ago. Let's see if he's a brilliant hurler. I still say you must be allowed to defend yourself and not punished for it. I think you're referencing there to Darren McCarthy. incident. Brian's also a Liverpool fan, something that he can bond with Aaron over. So also a weird day for you, Brian. On top of this, what was the kind? Right, I think it's gone out of my head. But yeah,
just for context as well, I'm not groaning. I'm not a Man United fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. That's why I'm upset. We were the last team that could have stopped them, but we were never ever going to stop them. So I'm not a United fan before anyone starts wondering why I'm groaning.
Did you see the meme where it was like Jurgen Klopp? It was like a meme of like someone looking through the glass. And it was like Jurgen Klopp watching Arne Slot win the league with 80 points, whereas Klopp didn't win it with 97. It's just
92,
poor guy, man. Klopp,
you would feel from that perspective,
yeah, unbelievable stuff. We're going to move over to Leinster, and what, in my opinion, is the most consequential game of the Leinster Championship. Dublin edging Wexford in Parnell Park, 326 to 419. A really, really enjoyable game of hurling, this one. Super game. Dublin edges, and back-to-back wins now for Dublin. 2 wins out of 2 in Parnell Park. Massive for us. And that could be crucial in us getting out of the Leinster Championship.
How weird is it that we're sitting here on a weekend where you've won a Leinster hurling game, but you've lost a Leinster football game? How weird is that?
Yeah, weird. We got Dublin losing in Leinster before GTA 6.
Oh, stop. Yeah, no, look, this was a terrific game of hurling. I really, really enjoyed it. It was dramatic right till the end. I suppose, it was a weekend of controversy, and I think you could start off with another one here. The first goal, the penalty. I mean, it was on the line. Like, it didn't cross the line, or at least from all the camera angles that they've shown, it didn't cross the line. I think they've got that one massively wrong. In the grand scheme of things, Dublin did win the game by 4 points, so you're thinking, would that have affected it? But then you're thinking, that ball gets cleared. Wexford are winning by 3. Does that change the complexity of the game? Do Wexford maybe go on and win it? But in my opinion, I still think Dublin, just the way that Dublin were playing and the players that they had on form as well, I think Dublin would have still won the game anyway, just in a different way. But, that one's out of the way anyway, first of all. But
hang on, I want to say this as well, because I've heard a lot of people tagging on to the back of this saying, this is why we need VAR and GAA. We should have VAR and GAA. VAR would be the worst thing to ever happen to GAA. I'm so firmly on that viewpoint, because think about it. If you play Gaelic football, be honest with yourself. If you play hurling, be honest with yourself. Do you really take 4 steps when you have the ball? Really? Or do you take 5? Or do you take 6? And every single goal, crucial score, would be sent straight to VAR by the opposing team and ruled out.
Yeah.
You know what you're seeing in the Premier League, where if someone's nose is big, they're offside. If someone's foot is a little bit bigger, they're offside. Like what we're seeing in the Premier League, where if someone has their arm a little bit out compared to a little bit in, they're offside, no goal. In GAA, let's be honest, we all play. You take 5 steps, you take 6 steps. And most of the most important goals and decisive and crucial goals in the last 25 years of the GAA, you could find someone at some point of the play that took 5 steps, 6 steps. And how far do you go back? Because let's be honest, in Gaelic football now, especially in Gaelic football now, the move starts with the cornerback. So do you want to go back to the goalkeeper's kick out and see if it was perfect the whole way through? VAR would be the worst thing to happen to the GAA. And I just won't agree that it should come in. We'll have here as well a comment from Brian says, hope you guys aren't Man United, City, or Arsenal fans.
I'm a proud gooner. Well, I say proud in the loose term, but I'm a proud gooner. I will die on that.
Except for Declan Rice.
Well, after those 2 free kicks, he's sort of changed my mind at the moment. I don't know, but
Oh no, those 2 frees were unbelievable. I was like, great goal. Still don't like it.
The problem was we had just lost to Galway in the under-20 championship that night, so that result that night could not have came on a worse night for me, because I was in a bad mood after that awfully defeat. So the following week I got to enjoy it, but I don't know, but watch us lose.
You were just in the pits, and
But I do agree. I don't think VAR would be right in the G. Whether people think goal line technology would work, but then you have to think, are you going to implement that in I mean, Jesus, most GAA clubs across the country like are rural, you know, and they don't have even facilities, even for like toilets or proper lights, or even they haven't painted their walls in years. But now you're going to ask them to put in, say, goal line technology for a junior C, junior D game, you know, like that's just not going to work, you know. So you then say, do you separate the, I suppose in a way, the elites of intercounty away from the lads who are just playing junior, looking for a good time with goal line technology? Probably not the best decision.
Mate, the goal line technology in a junior game would be such a waste of money. Like, I mean, but like if we're being honest, like, come on, it would be used once every year probably. And to be completely honest, again, going back to VAR, you can make a case for goal line technology in like the elite grounds in the GAA. Like, you can make a case for it being in Clonus, in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Semple Stadium, Croke Park, the likes, Pierce Stadium, Dr. Hyde, where the kind of final sometimes is played. You could make cases for that, but in my opinion, VAR would be a disaster. Like, it would be an absolute disaster, because it has been real trouble in football where in theory it shouldn't really be that hard, but it's now every tackle they're slowing down on it. And yeah, for the steps, it would be just a nightmare. Every player would get turned over. It would be a disaster. We've got 4 comments in here. Brian also says, I'd hate VAR to be brought in. It has its positives and negatives. Also says, big win. Galway at Parnell Park will be massive as to who gets to the final. Certainly. Istvan here. He says, Istvan, new to the channel. Good to have you, my long man. He says, strange thought, but I was thinking, would it be a good or bad idea to adjust the number of steps rules to the reality 5, 6 steps you mentioned? Really good point, Istvan. But personally, from training, let's be honest, man, I think we would all just start taking 7 or 8 steps. Like, I mean, you always try to get away with, because a good defender will always be taught to wait until you take your bounce, wait until you take your solo, and then step in. So when you're the attacker, you're always trying to avoid the bounce and solo until you absolutely have to, unless you're Dermot Connolly and you can solo off your pinky toe. But genuinely, like, you're always trying to avoid it, but realistically it would be a problem and it would catch teams. But that's a really good point, Istvan, and good to have you on the channel for the first time. Or maybe you've been here, but it's the first comment I've got from you anyway, so good to have you along.
Istvan is a Hungarian. He did Erasmus in UL with us journalism folk last year. He's
stop.
Yeah, he's big into the GAA. He was at the Kilkenny Limerick League, or the Kilkenny League League final there 2 years ago. So hello, Istvan, how are you keeping?
Good stuff, man. Good to have you on the show. So Dublin, this is a huge win. This is just speaking from a Dublin fan's perspective. We want to break through that glass ceiling now in hurling. The last, 6-7 years have kind of gone the same way, where we either get to a Leinster final and lose it, or we finish third, and then we go out and we lose to whoever, comes out of Munster but didn't win Munster. We usually go out in that kind of quarter final. That's where our season ends. I want to see Dublin go through the front door, win Leinster, or get to an All-Ireland semi-final through winning a quarter-final. That's the next step. Dublin are a sleeping giant in hurling, have been for years. We've had so many good players at the minor level, under 20 level, but they all just pick the football. And the thing is when you look at Dublin, like pre-2010, the trend was actually gone the other way. Conor Keaney swapped football for hurling. Shane Ryan swapped football for hurling. And they were 2 lads who started for the footballers. But Dublin won the Allianz Hurling League in 2011 and battered Kilkenny, one of the greatest, probably the greatest team of all time. And there was a real consensus that Dublin were dark horses for the All-Ireland, especially in 2013 when we won Leinster and fell to Cork in what was a brilliant semi-final. And when you saw how close Cork came to getting over the line, it's not out of the realm of possibility to say that could have been our year. And when you talk to people like, Ryan O'Dwyer, and you see him do interviews and stuff like that, you can tell that they still look at that and think that could have been our year. Like, that could have been the one that we could have won. And if we can get back to that level, the benefits that could bring for hurling would be unbelievable. It genuinely, having the Dubs fully engaged would be unbelievable. The new dimension that would bring, because right now in Dublin it is like kind of a die-hard group that are big into the hurling, but it doesn't have that same, I'd say cachet with fans that are a little bit more come and go with Gaelic games. They because the Dublin footballers are getting to All-Ireland finals, they're getting to All-Ireland semi-finals, and that brings the mega crowd, whereas the hurlers aren't tending to get there. But if we're getting there every year, it will quickly build up steam, mark my words. And this win goes a long way to doing that. John Heatherton, brilliant, 2-3. Sean Curry, again, fantastic with 111. Brian Hayes is probably my favourite player on that team now. He's just absolutely extraordinary. The way he just glides past players. I swear to God, the amount of times that I think Brian Hayes is going to get decked and out of nowhere, he just stands up straight and they just go past them. It's just the way he can glide past players is unbelievable. Great to see Ronan Hayes as well get a start after his brilliant performance against Offaly. We're moving the right direction. I'm not saying that we're dark horses for the All-Ireland this year, but we're moving the right direction. And I like seeing with Neil Callaghan that, we're trusting him and letting him build a team the way that he wants to for the future. Because, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We need to go back to the drawing board and build for a 5-year project, just the way that Nafina did. That Nafina built that team up to win the big prize at the end, which they did. These two games going to put them together because they turned out to be quite simple victories. Galway 225, Offaly 114. Sorry, and Kilkenny 230, Antrim 210. This one was a bit sticky for Kilkenny at one point, but then Antrim failed to score for 25 minutes. Kilkenny took over and got over the line. So ultimately, Kilkenny and Galway with 2 comfortable wins. For Galway, though, it's far more important because they respond after their horrific showing against Kilkenny last week.
Yeah, I was amazed to see that Antrim were winning at halftime against Kilkenny. I was like, Jesus, are we on for the most monumental of shocks here? And given our result yesterday, we genuinely could have done without Antrim winning, to be honest with you. But no, look, Kilkenny did what they had to do in the second half. And I suppose, look, when you have the likes of Owen Cody in your team, you're gonna go up another gear at some stage. So no, look, Antrim will take positives from the game. They've performed relatively well in their opening 2 championship games, to their credit. And certainly with Dublin coming to Cork Park, they won't fear them now. And I don't think they'll fear coming to O'Connor Park now, to be honest with you, especially with the result that they would have seen from us last night. So, well done to them. And I suppose well done to Kilkenny. They're marching on the way they'd like to be at the moment. For us, yeah, of course, I said that we'd win during the week, and I'm probably going to get roasted about that now for the rest of my life. But that was more my heart talking than my head, to be honest with you, probably. But
I didn't. I wasn't going to bring that up. You did it. You did that to yourself now.
Yeah. Look, do you know what? If you can't laugh at yourself every once in a while, what can you laugh at? So, look, we started well. Killian Sampson's goal was well taken. And Dahi Burke getting sent off before halftime for the incident with Brian Dignan. I thought that might have lit up a bit of a fighting spirit in our lads coming out for the second half. But Galway just went up another gear. I mean, Conor Whelan was allowed to do whatever he wanted. TJ Brennan scored 3 points from wing back. Keane Malloy had a sensational game at corner forward. Galway were well worth the win. Like, they were fortunate with the 2 goals. It's just unfortunate short poke out from Mark Troy, which was intercepted by Colin Mannion. And then, unfortunately for Donald Shirley, batting the ball into his own net when he's trying to bat it back out. It was just unfortunate from him. He's not a player that's used to making mistakes. So, I wouldn't read too much into it from his perspective anyways. But yeah, look, Galway were the better side. There's no point sugarcoating it as well. It's a learning curve for us. We had some players who played well. Charlie Mitchell, I think, had his best game in a long time for us. Oisin Kelly was able to catch a couple of balls and do well. To be fair to him, Killian Sampson started off the game strong. So there were still some decent performers from our perspective. And on a big positive note, Adam Screeney got 25-30 minutes on the pitch as well. Nearly scored a goal as well. He drove a shot over the bar, came off the bench, scored 3 points. There was a bit of excitement whenever he got a touch on the ball as well. So that's a big positive from our perspective, that he has got minutes and he's got exposed to this level as well. But yeah, it's a disappointing result for us. But if you're going to take learnings in the Leinster Championship, and especially in your first year back in 7 years, then this is where you do it. We kind of learned it. We learned the heartbreak last week against Dublin, and we've learned the level you need to go to against Galway this week, and with Kilkenny next in 2 weeks' time in Nolan Park. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be hard to see where Offaly can get a win out of going down there. But if they can at least put in a decent performance and try and build going towards the Wexford game, which I still have.
I can still see as I definitely think you will be Antrim. And then I do think you can potentially get a scalp against Wexford.
I think
Wexford have had a tendency, obviously, as we know, to let their standards drop, and Offaly will rise themselves for that game.
Yeah, and look, if you can curtail the influence of Rory O'Connor and Lee Chin, which you saw again yesterday, I mean, they were the architects of the first goal. Then you do have a massive chance. Now, saying that, Keane Burns scoring goals now, Carl Dunbar scored a good goal, so you'd want to keep them quiet as well. Conor Hearn's playing well this year, so it will be tricky. But look, it's all about building for us. You know, the main aim this year is to stay in the Leinster Championship. If we can get further up the table, then brilliant. But you know, if you're to say to most Offaly fans now, you stay in Leinster this year, you go into Division 1A next year, you play in Leinster Championship game, and as well next year you have 3 home games in Leinster next year as well, in comparison to 2 this year, then it can only go up from here. So yeah, look, it's a tough defeat for us, but we move on.
Yeah. No, well said. My goodness. What on earth happened? I haven't been drinking, lads, honestly. We're going to round up then the rest of the hurling, which took place across the weekend, starting with the Joe McDonagh. We had Carlow putting a bit of a beating on Kerry here, 327 to 17 points. But wait for this for a beating. Laois looking really good, 636 to Downs 112, while Kildare got a great win over Westmeath, 324 to 221.
Yeah, this is a huge win for Kildare hurling, their first ever win in the Joe McDonagh as well. And results like this are good for hurling as well. You know, you want these counties to be building up these big wins, to try and be building themselves up the table. And because Kildare, sort of like, say, your Norwiches or your Fulhams for years in the Premier League, they're very yo-yo with Christy Ring and Joe McDonagh. And it has to get to a stage where you just have to say, right, we got to stop doing this. We got to win a game eventually. They should have beaten Kerry last weekend, but they finally got a big win here. James Burke's goal at the end, I only briefly saw at the end of the game, but I saw his goal at the end and the elation. I'd say it was more relief than anything just to get over the line over Westmeath. For Westmeath, devastating result. It leaves their hopes of promotion fully in tatters, really, with the likes of Carlow to come to Mullingar. And I can't see Carlow losing to Westmeath at this stage.
No, Carlow look like they're on business this year, man. Like, for me, it's between Carlow and Laois. Like, the way, on top of that as well, like, I feel like if you know that you have the game won, but it's like Carlow didn't want to win. They wanted to annihilate them. Like, there's a lot of competition in that squad now. Like, you know, because the players that always spring to us is the Chris Nolans, the Marty Kavanaghs, but like, they've got stacks of players underneath that. James Doyle is one that, I mean, has really caught my eye this year. I know he's been around a few other years, but especially in the league, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And just in general, man, that like the competitiveness in the team is clear to see. And that's why when they're having wins like that, where they are going to get over the line, they're still racking it up. And yeah, for Kildare as well, what an achievement. Getting over the line against the Westmeath side, who had proven themselves in the Liam McCarthy Cup in the Leinster Championship. Yeah, Park 1998 is great comments at Wexford, the type of team to lose to Offaly and then beat Kilkenny. It's pretty much what they did a couple of years ago. Pretty much what they did a couple of years ago, losing to Westmeath and then beating Kilkenny to save themselves. It always annoyed me as well because it always somehow managed to like fuck us over. Like we always, I'd be like, Kilkenny would be home and hose in the Leinster final, and Wexford used to always win and then jump us into third, and I'd be like, lads. So, what's going on? We'll carry on though. We'll go to the Christy Ring round 2. Meath got a very impressive win over Derry here, 318 to 122. Meath have completely put that London performance in round 1 behind them by the looks of things. Then Wicklow and London drew 217 apiece, and Donegal put a hammering on Tyrone, 518 to 10 points.
Yeah, a great win for Meath, especially after that London result. I was still in shock at that result, actually. Not any disrespect to London, but just with Meath over the last couple of years being in the Joe McDonagh and even competing in some games, like to a respectable, like even last year when we played them in Meath, we were only up by 5 points at half time, you know, and they were finding spaces around us to get, you know, very good scores as well. So yeah, it's good that they've got back on track against Derry as well, which I think Derry bet them in the league as well. So to get that result turned around this time in the championship is massive for them. I think Tyrone are in for probably a very rough Christy Ring campaign. They had a very tough league. I think was it 10 goals they conceded to Down, or 9 goals in the league. I'd say at this stage they probably just want the season to end. But for London, I mean, beating Meath, drawn with Wicklow, they're moving along very nicely. They're motoring along very nicely. So great credit to them. I know I think they have a couple of inter-county players that are managing them at the moment. I believe Anthony Nash is over there at the moment, is one of the big names. So yeah, no, massive result for them, and don't rule them out from getting to a Christy Ring final potentially.
No, certainly. Like, they definitely look like one of the front runners for sure. Moving then to the Nicky Rackard Cup round 3, we had Roscommon beating Armagh by 115 to 15 points. Mayo, who are my favourites to win the Nicky Rackard, beating Louth by 225 to 218. But look at this. Fermanagh 218, Sligo 720. The stop, it's already dead meme is ringing through my brain right now looking at that scoreline. What a win for Sligo. I haven't actually got to see it today, but I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out what way this game must have been.
Yeah, I can remember 4 years ago, we played Sligo in the Christy Ring, and yeah, Sligo actually have a couple of decent players in their county setup. Like, they actually do. Like, it's amazing what you find out, say, from our own perspective when we were down there. In a way, it's kind of nice to see what players from other counties like these can actually offer, you know. And I'll give a shout out as well to one of my good friends, Dan Coughlin. He's on the Fermanagh panel at the moment, so hopefully he's enjoying his time with them as well, you know, and I wish him all the best of luck for the rest of the season. But yeah, no, a great result for Sligo. You wouldn't be writing them off either, but I still think Mayo are the team to beat in the competition this year. I think, especially after winning the league final as well, they'll take a lot of confidence from that. A great weekend for Sligo, and yeah, Fermanagh will want to try and forget about this one fairly quickly.
Yeah, no, they certainly will. This is just bad day at the office. My friend has come in to cheer me up. My friend all the way from Mexico, Zul, has come in saying, hard game, Meath versus Dublin. My daughter is very proud of Meath. Greetings from Mexico, my Irish friends. Great to have you back on, Zul. And yeah, thanks for cheering me up a little bit that the Dublin era has come to an end in Leinster. Laurie Mar Cup round 3. Leitrim drew at Longford 114 apiece. Monaghan had a very, very big win over Warwickshire 422 to 215. And Cavan, who are my pick to win the Laurie Mar, they keep winning, beating Lancashire 324 to 214. In my opinion, Cavan are the team to beat for sure in the Laurie Mar this year.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I think Cavan will get the job done this year. I think Monaghan will probably be their closest contenders, possibly. But I still think Cavan are a Nicky Rackard team. I don't think they're a Laurie Mar team as well at all, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, fair play to them. It's a big result for them, and they march on to the next round.
Yeah, no, they certainly do. We are going to then quickly run through the LGFA opening games and the Camogie as well. Because I am looking at the time, it's 9:30. And what tends to happen at 9:30, Liam, is I start to lose consciousness of what I'm saying. And
the Sunday game,
the Sunday game as well.
I don't want to bring you down. I don't want to bring you down more, but they have started with Dublin and Meath.
Okay, fantastic. So let's stay here for another 10 minutes. Let's jump in with the Munster game. So we had, of course, Waterford beating Tipperary by 2-9 to 1-7, and the All-Ireland champions and now league champions Kerry beating Cork by a goal and 13 to 10 points. In my opinion, the two best teams in Munster this year are in the Munster LGFA final. Waterford, for me, have surpassed Cork now, in my opinion. Like, the performances that they had, especially in the league, from the likes of Kellyanne Hoban and then other superb players like Lauren McGregor in there. Whereas Kerry looked the business in that league final. They really, really did. They looked ruthless as ever, even without the players they're missing. For me, Kerry probably shade the Munster final. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're All-Ireland champions for a reason. You saw what they did to Armagh in the league final as well, which was a result not a result I wasn't expecting. I thought Kerry would win the game, but in the manner that they did it, certainly probably shocked a few people to some degree. I saw this result yesterday from Matthew the Gaelic Statsman, and yeah, they were 111 to 3 points up at halftime, which I think they kind of probably sealed the game fairly comfortably. Now, I suppose to score 2 points in the second half is not great, but at the same time, they probably took their foot off the gas a good bit. And Cork probably just loaded on a few scores just to make the scoreline look a bit more respectful. But credit where credit is due. Sheaf Roche scored 6 points. Danielle O'Leary scored 1-3. They were in great form once again. So yeah, massive credit to Kerry for that. And for Waterford, yeah, I mean, I saw them a couple of times last year, especially in their game against Donegal, and I was really impressed with them. And I still think Kerry will win the Munster Championship, but I think Waterford are the closest team to them in the Munster Championship this year. I wouldn't say the All-Ireland overall. I still think the likes of Armagh, the likes of Dublin would still be the closest contenders to them. But yeah, Waterford will certainly, I think they'll give it socks in the Munster final, but I think Kerry will probably just shade it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think Kerry are too strong to stop, especially in Munster. I think, in my opinion, only a fully fit Dublin or Armagh can stop Kerry this year. Then moving to Leinster, we had Dublin beating Kildare 4-12 to 1-5. Niamh Heatherton with 1-5. Chloe Darby with 1-2. Caoimhe O'Connor with a goal. And off the bench, we had Niamh Crowley getting 1-1. This is kind of a shame in a way from the competitiveness side, because Kildare actually beat Dublin in the league, but in the championship, nope.
Same as last year, kind of. Yeah, it was very one-sided last year. I remember covering it for Scorpio last year, and it was very one-sided. You were thinking, Jesus, do we need to go into the second half? Like, this game's already done. But yeah, you'd be disappointed in some way if you are Kildare. Kind of the opposite to the men today. You know, you're thinking, is the Leinster Championship going to be competitive this year now with this sort of result? But yeah, it's a great result for Dublin. Take nothing away from them. They are a terrific side. They had a terrific team over the last numbers. Was it 3-4 in a row they did in the LGFA?
Yeah.
Can't my head, but yeah, they were a terrific team over the last number of years, and they still are a terrific team. And like you said, the players like Niamh Crowley and Chloe Darby and Niamh Heatherton, like you mentioned there, when you've got players like that in your panel, then you're going to take very, very hard to stop. So yeah, no, I think Dublin, like you said, probably a fully fit. I would say a fully fit Dublin. I wouldn't say this current Dublin team beats Kerry, but if they can get a fully fit squad, then they would certainly give them, especially at Croke Park as well, a ground that they're used to, then they'd certainly fancy their chances a lot more.
Yeah, no, I agree. The final province then that we're jumping into is Mayo beating Leitrim 2-11 to 1-11. It was Saoirse Lally and Sinead Walsh that provided the key goals for Mayo as they got over the line against the All-Ireland Intermediate Champions Leitrim. Look, this is the first year where Leitrim are competing with Mayo and Galway in a long time. So for Leitrim it was a big day, but Mayo a big win because, remember, relegated from Division 1, they needed this.
Yeah, no, they needed this, and it's a great momentous occasion for them to be back up there competing again. You know, you don't want to be down playing at the lower divisions for too long, because then you can get stuck into a sort of a rhythm that you come back up playing, say, the top teams, and you just find out you're really not at this level, or at least you haven't been for a while, and it's really hard to get back up there as well. So yeah, no, it's good for them that they got somewhat of a competitive outing. A shame about the result, obviously, but I think they will take a lot from this game. You know, Maureen Devaney hit 1-4, but Ned Walsh hit 1-4 as well. And yeah, for Mayo, it's a huge win for them. And yeah, they'll be delighted. Just probably to escape with a win more than anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now we have 3 camogie games left, and that is then our wrap. This one was definitely the highlight. Waterford shading Tipperary 15-14, which kind of surprised me, to be honest. Thought Tipper in the ascendancy, but Waterford reminding us just how good they are. You can't forget they still have the likes of Beth Carton and Eve Rocket in their team, and they shade this one.
Yeah, for Tipperary to lose this is very, I wouldn't say it's damaging, but it's certainly one that they wouldn't have expected. It's certainly not one that they'd be exactly welcoming either, considering that, you know, they were very close to reaching an All-Ireland final last year, and I would have been tipping them along with Galway to be somewhat contenders to Cork, which, you know, I think we can all agree Cork will probably win the All-Ireland this year and probably for the next even 2 or 3 years, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, certainly not a great result for them. But for Waterford, I mean, give great credit to them. They're hurling, their Camogie and LGFA teams winning this weekend over Tipperary. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll have huge bragging rights over that. Tip won't like that at all. And if their men can go and beat them as well in the hurling in a couple of weeks' time, then Jesus, Tip will never want to hear the name Waterford again. But yeah, no, fair play to Waterford. It's a great result for Tip. Bit of a step backwards, but it is a long year ahead. I'd expect them to probably bounce back. This could just be a day, not a day off, but what's the
Bad day
phrase?
at the office.
Yeah, bad day. I can't finish something either, I swear. But yeah, no, it is a good result for Waterford. Fair play to them.
Yeah, it's 20-10. These are the final games then of the episode before we round it off before an hour and 40 minutes hits. The Ulster semi-finals saw Derry beating Armagh by 119 to 2-9 and Antrim shading down by 15 points to 13. Of course, Antrim have the superb Oisin McCormack in the team. Derry, for me, my favourite in there is Anya Barton. I do make Antrim strong favourites for this final. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think Antrim are the strongest side in that bracket there. But yeah, I can't see anybody stopping them, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I just think they're too strong, especially for this time of the year. They look like they're in good nick, and yeah, I don't see anybody stopping them this year. Down, I think, was probably the toughest challenge for them to come through this year in the Ulster Camogie Championship. They managed to get over the line in a very, very, very tough game. Brian has sent in a comment that made me laugh here. You know, Brian, obviously a diehard Dub. He says, "I'm off to drown my sorrows."
Liverpool won the league. What do you mean down your sorrows? Celebrate this one moment.
Yeah. First world problem. What? He says, Séamus, what is your opinion for the rest of the year in football and hurling? I am going to go for Armagh to win Ulster. I'm going to go for Louth to win Leinster. I'm going to go for Galway, Connacht, Kerry to win Munster. And I'm going to go for Donegal to win. No, Galway to win the All-Ireland. And then I'm going to go in hurling. I'm going to go for no, I don't know. Sorry. I'll do that next week. But I can't. If I'm saying it now, I think Cork will win the All-Ireland, but I haven't a clue who's going to win. Kilkenny will win Leinster, but
yeah.
Munster, I'll go with Limerick. But God knows. God knows. And I definitely am not God. Anyway, that is the episode finished here on Clare. An hour and 37 minutes by the time I finish yapping here will be in the books. Thank you so much to Liam White for jumping on, saving me another week. Thank you so much to everybody that commented. Eastvan, there, the last comment says, a great watch to listen to this podcast for the first time, even though I didn't watch any GAA. Even though I didn't watch the AGA this week, VPN store TCG card don't always work. It's fun. It's been a pleasure having you on. Look forward to having you back on another episode. Hopefully, please God. Big shout out to Brian O'Riordan. Tons of comments from you as always, Brian. Love having you back on the shows. You, my good friend from Mexico Park, 1998. Gaelic Stasso, Matthew earlier, our good friend Coleman Long. On top of that, Jim Byrne, Killian McMullen, Sean E.K., Gavin O'Reilly. Thank you all so much for helping to make that a really, really enjoyable episode. Go enjoy the Sunday game, and we will be back this time next week for another episode. Who knows what will happen by then in the world of GAA. Until then, Torah.